What actually happens inside your body when you stop eating sugar for 30 days? Not what the wellness blogs tell you, not the Instagram transformation posts, but the real, raw, uncomfortable truth that nobody warns you about. I did it. I tracked everything. And what happened genuinely shocked me, including some things I really did not expect to happen at all. Before we get into it, I want to be upfront with you. This was not some perfectly curated health experiment. There were moments I nearly quit. There were days I felt genuinely terrible. And there were some results that were so surprising, I had to do research to understand what was even happening to my body. So stick with me because the stuff that happened in week 3 completely changed how I think about food. Let me set the scene. About 6 weeks before I started this, I was eating what most people would call a pretty normal diet. Coffee in the morning, with a couple of spoonfuls of sugar, maybe a flavoured yogurt, some fruit, the occasional chocolate bar in the afternoon. I was not eating candy for breakfast or downing soda every hour. By most people's standards, I was doing fine. But I kept reading research suggesting that even moderate sugar consumption was doing things to my brain and body that I had completely underestimated. So I decided to find out for myself. The rules were simple. No added sugar, no honey, no maple syrup, no artificial sweeteners either, because I wanted to see what happened to my cravings without replacing the sensation. Natural sugars in whole fruit were allowed, but I was keeping an eye on quantity. That was it. 30 days. Day 1 felt easy. That is always how it goes with these things, right? You ride the motivation wave and think, this is nothing. I don't even eat that much sugar anyway. Day 2 was still manageable. Day 3 was where reality introduced itself. I developed a headache that started behind my eyes and spread across the back of my skull by midday. I was irritable in a way that felt almost chemical, like something in my brain was genuinely unhappy. I looked this up and what I found was fascinating and also slightly alarming. When you eat sugar regularly, your brain releases dopamine in response to it. Not a small amount either. The reward pathway that lights up is similar in structure to what activates with certain addictive substances. When you remove sugar abruptly, your brain notices the absence and it throws a minor tantrum. The headaches, the mood dip, the fatigue, these are real physiological withdrawal symptoms, not just a mental challenge. Days 4 through 7 were what I would describe as the fog period. My energy was inconsistent and strange. I would feel okay for a few hours and then suddenly hit a wall that felt like someone had pulled a plug somewhere. This happens because your body has been relying on quick sugar hits to maintain blood glucose, and when that source disappears, it has to shift toward burning fat for energy instead. That transition is not instant, and it is not comfortable. Here is where it started to get interesting though. Around day 10, something shifted. The afternoon energy crash that I had experienced basically every single day of my adult life simply stopped happening. I did not even notice it at first. It was my girlfriend who pointed out that I had not complained about being tired after lunch in over a week. She was right. That sluggish 2 o'clock feeling that I had accepted as just a normal part of being alive had vanished. Week 2 also brought something I was not expecting at all. My skin started to change. I have dealt with occasional breakouts on my jawline and chin for years, and I had always chalked it up to stress or just genetics. By day 14, they had almost entirely cleared up. Now I want to be careful here because skin is complex and individual results vary significantly. But research does connect high sugar intake to elevated insulin levels, which can trigger hormone fluctuations that contribute to acne, particularly that hormonal type along the jaw. For me personally, the connection was undeniable. Week 3. This is the week I promised you was going to be significant. By day 18, I noticed something happening with my hunger that I can only describe as it becoming honest. Before this experiment, I would eat a meal, and within an hour, sometimes less, I would want something sweet. Not because I was hungry, but because my brain had learned to expect that sweetness signal. Once that pattern was broken, my appetite started giving me actual information. I felt hungry when I needed food, and satisfied when I had enough. That sounds basic, almost insultingly simple. But if you have spent years eating in an environment saturated with added sugar, you know that your hunger signals can become genuinely unreliable. My sleep also improved noticeably around this time. I was falling asleep faster and waking up feeling more rested. The connection between sugar and sleep quality is something a lot of people overlook. Consuming sugar, especially in the evening, can interfere with your body's ability to maintain stable blood sugar through the night, which disrupts sleep architecture and can cause you to wake in the early hours even if you do not fully remember doing so. Week 4 felt like living in a different body. My taste buds had recalibrated in a way I was not fully prepared for. I ate a plain apple around day 24, and it tasted almost overwhelmingly sweet. Vegetables I had previously found bland were suddenly more flavorful. This is a documented phenomenon. Your palate adapts when it is no longer being bombarded by concentrated sweetness, and it starts picking up on more subtle flavor compounds that were always there but getting drowned out. I lost about 4 pounds over the 30 days without changing anything else. No extra exercise, no calorie counting, no other dietary modifications. Just removing added sugar. Some of that is almost certainly water weight from reduced carbohydrate intake, but some of it was real and meaningful. My mental clarity in the final week was probably the most striking thing to reflect on. I was more focused during work hours. Tasks that would have required real effort to stay on felt more manageable. There is research suggesting that chronically elevated insulin levels, the kind that come from regular sugar consumption, can impair cognitive function over time. Reducing that load seems to have tangible effects on how clearly your brain operates day to day. So what did I take away from all of this? A few honest conclusions. First, sugar withdrawal is real, and the first week is genuinely hard. If you try this and feel awful early on, that is your body adjusting, not a sign that something is wrong with you or the experiment. Second, many of the effects that people attribute to aging, that afternoon energy dip, the inconsistent sleep, the dull skin, might actually be diet-related and more reversible than we assume. Third, the transformation of hunger from noise into signal is probably the most valuable long-term outcome of all of this. Learning to actually hear what your body needs, rather than what the sugar loop has trained you to crave, is genuinely life-changing. Now here is the question I know you are wondering. Did I go back to eating sugar after day 30? Honestly, yes, some. But not in the way I did before. I have kept added sugar out of my daily routine, and I treat it as an occasional deliberate choice rather than a background constant. The 30 days essentially reset my relationship with it in a way that has actually stuck. If you are even slightly curious about trying this, I would encourage you to commit to at least 2 weeks before judging the results, because the first week is genuinely misleading. Give your body enough time to actually adapt and show you what it can do without the constant sugar interference. If this video helped you or made you think about your own diet differently, subscribe, because next week I'm looking at what happens when you cut out ultra-processed foods entirely. And spoiler, the results are even more uncomfortable and more fascinating than this one was.